So the article I wanted to tell you about was an interesting one. It's called "The Secrets of a Diary Written on Castle Floorboards."
On what kind of floorboard?
On a castle floorboard. So let me find the article right quick here.
Sure.
So it says here, um, they found a hidden diary written by a carpenter on the floorboards of a French alpine chateau, and which provides a rare insight into the private lives of the villagers in France in the late 19th century. So,
It's unusual that they're literate.
yeah, and they found this guy. It has a date here of 1880. A guy has written his name Martin J, and it almost looks like it says John.
Uh-huh.
Um, Guy was 38 years old from a village here. Says some of the new owners of this chateau decided to remove, to renovate some of the castle of the upstairs rooms, and they found this discovery. It says on the
Wow.
yeah on the underside of the floorboards, invisible um, until you flip them over, were long messages written out in pencil. The messages were dated over several months between 1880 and 1881, and they were signed by a gentleman that they later found the name, uh, I guess it was Joachim Martin,
Okay.
uh, or Mr. Martin, we'll just call him. It quickly became clear was the carpenter who installed the parquet for the chateau's then owner. Let's see here. And what he left behind was this kind of a secret diary intended to be read only long after he was dead and buried. In
Right.
Right, and 72 entries here, some longer than others. Uh, Mostly were purely factual. Others uh, talking a lot, mostly about personal feeling. Um, According to here, the writer sets out what's in his head as he goes about his daily work. These are words of an ordinary man, a man from just the common folk there, and he's saying a lot of things that are very personal because he knows that, or at least he at the time thought that no one would really read it except for a long time in the future. This is according to some historians who visited his site. Um, his diary touches matters of all kinds of political things, such as crime, religion, some politics, and all that. A combination of all of that, allowing
Uh-huh.
for viewers to see an extraordinary behind the scenes glimpse at what was going on in a small ritual community there that was just outside the castle walls. Let's see here.
Well, it's nice to have a contemporary history like that.
Yeah. It says the most shocking episode details with an says here an infanticide, a story that clearly still haunts him 12 years after it occurred. Says here in 1868, I was passing at midnight before the doorway at a stable. He heard groans. Says it was a mistress of one of the old friends who was giving birth. Over time, the woman had given birth to six children, four of which are buried in the stable. He makes clear that it was not their mother who killed them, but her lover, his old friend Benjamin, who the writer accuses of trying to seduce his own wife as well. This criminal who is now trying to screw, this is as the writer is writing here, the criminal who's now trying to screw up my marriage, all I have to do is to say one word, point my finger at the stables, and they all would be in prison. But I won't. He's an old childhood friend, and his mother is my father's mistress. Yeah, that's what he writes here. He says here, uh, in block of wood here says the true disciples of Tropman, who's I guess a companion of many people here, which says here in parentheses, three famous murderers of the time, close parentheses, have tried several times to screw up my marriage. All I have to do is say one word and point my finger to stables. They'll be in prison. Uh, says here, they have published a book also about this matter, and they have insight into the reality of the village relationships, which no conventional archival text would come close to. Here an article. Says often the writer feels sense of horror in regards to these events, but doesn't often chooses not to speak publicly about it due to the neighboring connections. And it says here, during the time, the killing of babies was certainly a criminal offense, but at a time before contraception was available, it perhaps was not that uncommon. Says, yes, it's quite possibly the pressure of the secrets one factor that had him to write this out on the floorboards. There's another article where he appears to be angry at the local priest. During the time of the 1880s, it was a time of rapid change. France's Third Republic was bedding in, having seen off final challenges from the monarchists, and across the country, reforms were being introduced that would limit the powers of the church. The writer says here that he approved of these reforms, especially towards one priest who he thought was an obsessive womanizer. And then he talks about other observations of a lot of the townsfolk. Does more further explanation of why he has a growing anti-church feeling. Let's see here. It says here, it talks about how in 1884 a petition was sent to a local parliamentary deputy asking for the priest to be replaced. Several letters were sent to back up the petition. One of them, which has been preserved, was written by him. The arguments used by the petitioners were first that the priest had abused confessionals, second that he acted as an incompetent doctor. Says here, Wright also was talking about how everyone seemed to have their heads stuck between the conflict between Catholicism and Protestantism. And there were very few Protestants where he was living. He has another article here, says, happy mortal, when you read me, I shall be no more, be wiser than I was from the ages of 15 to 25, when I lived for nothing but love, doing little and spending much. And then he writes parentheses, I was a fiddler. So kind of interesting here. Little was actually known about the writer because he was born in 1842 and died in 1897. So he died as sort of a younger age. As a young man, he earned money as a fiddler at village festivals. He had 4 children, but no photographs of him are known to exist. But according to former owners, they claimed the carpenter was clearly a man of intelligence and sensibility. In his hidden diary of wooden planks here, he addresses directly to unknown readers that he hopes one day someone will come across what he has written. And it says elsewhere here, my story will be short and sincere and frank, because none of you shall see my writing. So that's kind of an interesting
Yeah.
article.
That's one way to lock up a diary.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. They just released that today, actually, on the BBC.
Huh. Sounds like something interesting to read.
Yeah, but I'm gonna look more into that to see if I can find anything. But yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing they've just published today.
Yeah. Well, how they people get away with that sometimes, but
Yeah,
he's kind of lucky they didn't catch him.
right. Hmm. Imagine they said it was covered in several months, so I guess it was in the building of the castle, possibly.
Yeah. So those floors would be down for a long time. So they didn't discover this stuff until
Until
they started changing the floors.
yeah, they started doing some renovations. By the looks of it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Somebody's gonna write a book.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna call you back later. I have to actually get to work now.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the info.
Welcome. Well, you have a good day.
You have a good day at work.
All right. Well, bye.